This is Real News Media TV, coverage you can trust. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates. Good afternoon, my Real News Media TV family. Welcome back to the channel for another news update for June 23, 2023. And in the news this afternoon, forensic psychiatric evaluation for wife accused of killing cop husband. Manchester housewife Casey and Roxanne Blair, who has been charged with the murder of her husband, Constable Damian Blair, is to undergo a forensic psychiatric evaluation. Forensic psychiatry in criminal and civil matters involves seeking the help of psychiatrists who will conduct various tests to understand the mental capacity of the accused and provide opinions to the court regarding the ability of the defendant to, for example, have a factual and rational understanding of allegations against them, among other things. Based on this, the trial judge will make a determination as to whether or not the defendant is fit to plead to determine if they can stand the trial. The request was one of two made by attorney Tamika Harris, who is representing the widow, who appeared before the Home Circuit Court in downtown Kingston on Thursday. Harris also requested Mrs. Blair's medical records from Mandeville Regional Hospital, where she had been laid up for several days after apparently attempting suicide following the alleged attack on her husband. According to a police report, about 6:25 p.m. on May 29, Constable Blair was reportedly shot inside the family house located at Desmond Mackenzie Close, formerly Guava Walk Road in Somerset, a deep rural community in northwest Manchester, allegedly by his wife, with his licensed pistol. The wounded cop reportedly ran from the house they shared, only to collapse at his gate, where further wounds were reportedly inflicted with a hammer. The police, who were summoned by citizens, said the accused woman had barricaded herself in a section of the house. She was eventually found with a laceration to her wrist. Her husband was pronounced dead at hospital while she was admitted in stable condition. The case of the 33-year-old woman, who was discharged from the hospital on Monday and later charged, was transferred to the Home Circuit Court on a voluntary bill of indictment, which was proffered by the Crown. She is to reappear before Supreme Court Judge Justice Leighton Pusey on July 19. According to relatives of the slain cop, the couple, who were married for 8 years of a 13-year relationship, had a tumultuous union. They said the cop had made plans to separate from his wife before the unthinkable happened. More calls for specified minimum qualification for MPs and ministers. There is support for calls for a minimum requirement to be outlined in the job descriptions for cabinet ministers and members of parliament. Executive Director at the Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal, Jeanette Calder, on Thursday took issue with the qualifications and experience outlined in the job descriptions. She said the minimum qualification is too basic and non-specific for the important roles and responsibilities accorded to MPs and ministers. Robert Stevens, co-chair of Advocates Network, is in agreement. He believes MPs should at least have a high school diploma to be considered for the job. But ideally, he said, ministers should have at least a first degree. In addition, Mr. Stevens noted that the requirements for ministers and MPs outlined in their job descriptions have come up short in other areas.
And I do believe that ministers really need more than a high school diploma. In addition to that, there are some things I read through the minister's requirements. There was no mention of the word honesty or integrity. And in the MP, it did refer to integrity, but it referred to integrity to being an MP kind of thing. It didn't talk about the character of the person and the importance of integrity of the individual. I think there's also a reference to development of constituency development plans, which are multi-year. And I think that that's a great idea, but I don't know that many of the constituencies prepare that, except in relation maybe to the money that they control in terms of the CDF.
Political commentator Lloyd B. Smith has also suggested that MPs should live in a constituency for some time before being selected to represent the constituents.
The fact of the matter is that the person should have some relationship with the constituency prior to his or her being selected as a candidate to run in that constituency. It can't be that people are just being parachuted into a constituency. It is not best for the democratic process. It's not good for the interaction that would exist between the person who is going to lead and to seek to represent these persons without even having sufficient knowledge of the area, knowing the various districts, knowing who is who and what is what.
Sentencing for serial rapist postponed. The sentencing for serial rapist Dwayne Edwards has been postponed until June 28. The sentencing hearing was scheduled to get underway in the Home Circuit Court on Thursday, but was pushed back to next Wednesday at 2 p.m. When the matter was called up, his attorney, Venice Brown, requested additional time to make a legal submission for an appropriate sentence. Edwards, on March 9, 2023, pleaded guilty to rape, forcible abduction, and robbery with aggravation. The rapist, who was convicted in 2021 for similar offenses, is serving a 19-year prison sentence. Edwards and his co-accused Michael Swiby had been on the police's radar for several years. They were arrested in 2018. Agriculture Ministry working to mitigate disaster impacts on farmers. The Disaster Mitigation Committee in the Ministry of Agriculture is to implement measures to stave off the effects of disasters on farmers. Heavy rains over several days resulted in millions in damage to farms in St. Elizabeth. The Agriculture Ministry has already pledged $63 million to assist the affected farmers, with $10 million towards the purchase of irrigation equipment and $5 million to assist the farmers with their livestock. Some $30 million will go towards the repairing of farm roads. Agriculture Minister Floyd Green said given the effects of climate change, farmers need to engage in similar practices to lessen the likely consequences of natural disasters, while the ministry will also do its part to mitigate these issues. How can we look at the areas that we know are prone to flooding, look at putting in appropriate drainage work so that when we go through years of intense rainfall, the farmers don't suffer as much? Those are some of the things we are focusing on with our climate-smart technology, he said. He was addressing the launch of this year's staging of the Denby Agricultural, Industrial and Food Show. The agriculture sector has seen a 7% decline in food production as a result of the drought affecting the country since last year. 21-year-old laborer offered $300,000 bail in stolen bike case. A 21-year-old laborer charged in connection to a motorcycle that was stolen was offered bail by a parish judge in the sum of $300,000 on Tuesday. Tajay Stewart's defense attorney told the presiding judge, Venice Blackstock Murray, at the Kingston and the St. Andrew Parish Court that her client, who was charged with unlawful possession of property, was unlikely to re-offend because he was in the process of purchasing the motorcycle and he wasn't aware that it was stolen. The lawyer went on to say that when was asked by the police to present the papers for the motorcycle, he said they weren't in his possession because he didn't finish paying for the bike and the owner held onto the papers. On May 31, Stewart was seen with a Tiger motorcycle in Lawrence Tavern, St. Andrew. Upon making checks after arousing suspicion, it was found that the bike was stolen. He was also given reporting conditions and ordered to not make contact with witnesses. With the corroborating officer's statement outstanding, Stewart was ordered to return to court on September 14, when it is expected that this document will be on file. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates.